What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be talking about our wide receiver dictionary episode 4, okay? So what this is, wide receiver dictionary, if you guys haven't seen the first 3 episodes, what it is, we're breaking down 3 specific terms that wide receivers need to know to improve their football IQ and just to improve their overall game. So I hope these 3 things can help you guys out. Today we're going to be focused on route running, hands, and then we're going to be talking about just IQ coming off the line of scrimmage. So I hope this gives you guys some value, but also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you want 2 of our programs that we have on our website for the price of 1, check out that very first link in the description below for our route running Bible. So what you'll get access to is our how to improve your route running in 10 days training schedule. So it's a 2-week long on-field wide receiver training schedule. We give you all the drills. We break down all the drills in a video form, and then we explain the sets and reps and show full speed examples, and you get access to a 48-minute long video on 20 different press releases, when to use each release, then drills with sets and reps for each one. So if you want both of those programs for the price of 1, check out that very first link in the description below. Let's get started. So first thing I want to talk about today is the trigger step. Okay, so what is a trigger step? Now, everybody's obviously heard about snapping down. Everybody's heard about dropping their hips, but that trigger step is this first step right here, right? It's the step that starts the drop of your pad level. It's the step that starts the drop of your hips, right? So that trigger step is what gets you to that low explosive position to where you're able to drive out of this break. So if you guys don't do this type of thing at the top of the route, chances are you have probably a slow break and you're not as violent with your hips as you need to be. A trigger step is it's honestly, they call it a trigger maybe because and again, it's probably different. Some of the people have a different way of remembering it. But for me, at least, when I say trigger step, it's like a trigger to drop everything. It's a trigger to take your pad level and shoot it down, bring that chin all the way down to your knee like there's a string attached, and you're just pulling that string straight down. So you got to make sure that when we do this trigger step here, you are in stride, right? So what a lot of people struggle with is that they'll start chopping their feet right before the break. But you see how this receiver right here, Richie James, is able to stay in stride, drop. And he's able to drop right in stride. That trigger step allows you to have that change of direction in stride to where we get this DB to be in full stride because I'm selling vertical and I'm able to drop right on a dime. So this is one of the main things that you have to understand as a wide receiver if you want clean breaks at the top. Everybody's like, oh, you got to snap down, right? But okay, well, what's the technique behind the step? When do I know when to snap down? That trigger step is like the start of the break, right? Let's say you're running a comeback route and it's like your 4th inside step. The 4th inside step where you're breaking this thing off, which should take you to about maybe 15, 16 yards. That 4th inside is going to be the trigger step, right? So it's not going to be the 3rd outside. It's not going to be you're slowing down on the outside step, then you're dropping. It's like you are dropping your weight on the inside step to get your pad level down. Very important that on that step, you are trusting your hips. It is a hip drop. You are not just bending at your waist. You are dropping your hips. You're dropping your butt down. You're not on your heels, obviously, and you are getting your chin to your knees so you could get to an explosive position, because that explosion at the top of the route is what gives you acceleration out of this break. So you've got to make sure that we explode. This is the energy that you're creating. When I drop right here, that explosion is what gives me that acceleration where I could shoot back to the ball and beat the DB in the race back to the ball. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by James here, getting off on this route, using that trigger step to drop his hips into an explosive position so he can accelerate back to the ball. Okay, so now, second tip I want to talk about, or second term, I guess you should say, that you got to know as a receiver is when you are catching over the shoulder, when you got a DB trailing your inside hip, we have late hands. Okay, so what does that exactly mean? Let's watch this rowdy from Antonio Brown. This is not a design sluggo. This is like a broken play where he's doing basic scramble rules, but we're talking about that right there. This specific spot to where this DB doesn't have time to react. Okay, so now what a lot of people struggle with here, they'll do one of 2 things. They either show their hands too early or they show their hands too late and they're trying to catch this thing down by their waist. Either one is equally as bad. This is a perfect example of where you guys want to catch a ball over the shoulder, right? It's up high. It's about eye level, chin level. That's where we want to get this thing, but he doesn't show his hands super early. He shows his hands late. He shows his hands late because that's where that DB's playing to react to, right? So again, we one of the main things that we emphasize, especially with our receivers that we work with, anything that we do, is that when you got a DB trailing you, he is taught to do what? He's taught to play your hands. He is taught as soon as he sees those hands go up, okay, he's going to shoot his hands. He's going to play that hands to get a PBU in hopes because we got him by a couple of steps, right? Antonio Brown's open. There's a perfect throw here by Brady, but again, we have to bail him out as a receiver. So when we get to this spot, you see how AB's very late. That ball is there. He's showing his hands a split second before that ball hits his hands. DB does not have enough time to react to that specific thing. So you have to understand the concept, fellas, of having late hands. I use this example all the time. Anytime I work with receivers and maybe they're like an average high school wide receiver, right? Maybe it's the first couple of times they've come out there. Anytime there's a deep ball thrown, what they'll do is they'll get to this spot right here where this ball's coming over the top and they start to run with their hands out. They start to show their hands before that ball even gets there and they start to run, and it slows them down, number one. They don't catch up to the ball, and usually that's why it feels like every single throw is out of reach, even when it's not, right? Now, when I start working with guys who maybe have a few offers, they're a Division I guy, they're a recruitable guy, they play at a high-level school, every time that ball is thrown over the shoulder, they are trained, and it's not even something that I usually have to bring up. It's just something that they've been doing for their whole career, is their hands are late. That hand is late over the top. They're tracking it with their eyes. They're showing this thing as late as possible so this DB doesn't have time to react. Fellas, you got to train like you're going to actually work in the game. When you guys are working routes versus air, you have to use this principle of late hands so it builds a habit in the game. Now, the other thing is you see when this ball comes in, Antonio Brown does such a great job of having his eyes follow it to his hands. You see how it's just that picture frame catch right there. The only thing in his line of vision is the football. It's not the football and then this guy over here. It's solely the football, right? It's like a self-portrait. You guys see that all the time, like on a coffee table or whatever of a person. That self-portrait, it's not half of the person and half of the objects behind him in the picture. It is the whole person in the picture. That's how you want to treat the football. It's a self-portrait. Bam. Seeing this thing, hit your hands. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Second term that you got to know as a wide receiver, you must have late hands over the top anytime that we are working an over the shoulder catch situation, okay? Now, also, fellas, if you guys are a quarterback or a wide receiver, you may have heard about this. We are coming to Arizona on October 2nd. So if you guys are in the Arizona area, thereabouts close to that, we are having a 3-hour quarterback and wide receiver training clinic on October 2nd. So I hope you guys could check that out. Check out the very first link below. It'll be a great opportunity to get better. I myself will be there working with receivers, working with quarterbacks. We're flying out a speed coach to work on your guys' 40-yard dash technique, running mechanics, overall agility, and just everything is above. And then we'll also have a photographer out there free of charge taking 50 images of each athlete. So I hope you guys could check that out. Very first link in the description below. Great opportunity for you guys to get better. Let's get started with this next clip, okay? So now, the next thing I want to talk about here is the last term, and that is attacking a DB's leverage, especially on the goal line when he's inside shade like this, okay? So we all know that a DB on the goal line is not going to do what? He's not going to backpedal. So I got to make sure that I make him as uncomfortable as possible. I'm trying to step on his toes and trying to really force him off this thing. So you see how this receiver doesn't really do that. He kind of makes this move a little bit early, doesn't really sell the route, and you see how he gets completely knocked out of this play. This is almost an impossible throw for the quarterback because he's got like 2 yards right here to be able to make something happen. So we're obviously not going to go to him if I'm throwing this ball. So when I come off the line of scrimmage here, I don't want to be giving away what I'm doing right away, okay? So when you come off the line, you want to try to threaten this guy. Why is he even inside shade in the first place? He's inside shade in the first place because he doesn't want to give up the inside. So I actually have to threaten him to the inside here. I can't just run a lazy route to the outside, round it off, because that's exactly what he's going to do. I got to make sure that when I close the space with him, I get a little bit closer. I make him uncomfortable. I'm trying to step on his toes, hopefully trying to get him on his heels a little bit because we know he's not going to backpedal, fellas. If you backpedal in the end zone, that just sets up an easy out route and the quarterback just puts this thing on. So a talented DB, a smart DB, isn't going to backpedal on the goal line. He's going to hold firm. He's going to sit in his base. So that means when we close the space with him, we can really make him uncomfortable. So this receiver doesn't necessarily do that. He just gives this kind of like lazy fake to the inside. DB's not going to really sit on it because he's got space to work. He's got space to react. Even if he were to run to the inside, this DB's got plenty of space to drive on this ball if we were throwing a slant. So the number one thing you got to do is make sure that we attack his leverage and threaten him to where he doesn't want me to go. That's the third thing that you got to understand. And a lot of people know the term, oh, you got to attack his leverage, you got to attack him, but not a lot of people know exactly what it means. When you have an inside shade DB, we are trying to attack him inside, force him inside to open up space to the outside. I can't just run this thing off. He's going to get right into my hip and force me right into that back end zone, back goal line, or back pylon, whatever you want to think of it. So make sure we close the space, give more of a violent head fake to the inside, and then I can ultimately get some space to win the race back to the back corner of this end zone. Let's watch the thing again, full speed. Just make sure, fellas, third term that you got to understand, attacking leverage and what attacking leverage actually means, okay? Just make sure that we don't just give off, run to the outside, give a lazy fake to the inside, and close the space that the quarterback has to make this throw. All right, guys, we want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. I always appreciate the feedback. Always appreciate the questions you guys ask. And then again, fellas, if you guys want to get better at route running, you want to improve your press release game, check out that very first link in the description for our route running Bible. You'll get 2 weeks worth of wide receiver on-field exercises to improve your route running in 10 days. We give you specific exercises, sets and reps, rest periods, and all the above. And we include a 48-minute long video, 20 different press releases, when to use each one, and then drills for each one with sets and reps. Hope you guys could check that out. If you're really serious about taking your skills to that next level, this is definitely for you. Very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.